there's a deep ache inside, a gnawing question that every founder, investor, or leader has faced in the silence of those long nights. Is this all there is? Is the relentless chase for bigger numbers, higher valuations, more exits, the endless game of financial growth, the only way forward? It's exhausting. The pressure to prove value measured by the dollars flashing on spreadsheets, the constant anxiety that if the numbers don't climb, somehow the entire dream fails. But what if the story we've been told, this story of values crushed under valuation, is exactly what's broken? What if the future of venture capital isn't just about the size of the check, but the weight of the values behind it? Because truth is, the cutthroat race for growth, the obsession with metrics, has blinded the world to something far more electrifying, far more radical. It has forgotten the spark, the human pulse, that ignites change, that transforms startups into movements. Look around. Founders are burnt out, drained by endless fundraising cycles that bleed innovation dry. Investors are stuck, watching in frustration as the system churns profits but sidelines purpose. The world is crying out for solutions, for businesses built on meaning, for ventures that don't just make money but make a difference. And yet the game doesn't reward it. It punishes it. The conventional VC playbook is a prison made of spreadsheets, where optimism is often squeezed out by cold calculations, where stories of impact get reduced to footnotes. But you, somewhere deep down, you know this isn't right. You feel it because you live it. Because your mission is about more than margins. It's about millions of lives touched, communities uplifted, and futures rewritten. So what is the real currency in this new world? It's not just the valuation figures that flash and disappear. It's values, the core principles and ethics that shape every decision, every deal, every choice. It's the commitment to build ventures where success isn't just profit, but purpose. This is not some vague idea or a trendy buzzword. It is a seismic shift, a reclaiming of what business should be, a force for good that's also unstoppable. Imagine investing not just in ideas, but in integrity. Imagine founding a company not just for the bottom line, but for the better line, the quality of life, the future of our planet, the dignity of every human touched by your work. This isn't naive idealism. It is the next frontier. Here's the hard truth. The relentless pressure on founders to jump through valuation hoops, to obsess over growth at all costs, is killing the soul of innovation. When every decision hinges on impressing a board, on pushing KPIs, that fire inside, the raw, messy, beautiful fire of entrepreneurship, gets buried beneath exhaustion, fear, and compromise. Founders are told, grow fast, scale fast, or fail fast. But no one tells them what happens to their vision when they sprint in that race. They lose themselves. They lose sight of why they started. And the system, built on chasing the next big exit, often rewards only those who play by outdated rules, rules that neither inspire nor empower true transformation. At the same time, investors feel caught in a cage, trapped in an endless cycle of focusing on short-term gains and surface-level wins while deeper value slips away. They want to back founders who care, who change the game, who create lasting impact. But the metrics they're forced to measure by don't capture that. They look at profit margins, user acquisition, market share. But what about trust? What about community impact? What about resilience? What about values that shape behavior and culture over years, not quarters? This disconnect leaves everyone, founders, investors, and the world, stranded between what could be and what is. But here is the spark. A tiny, fierce truth. The future of venture capital is already emerging at the edges. It's fueled by those founders and investors who refuse to let valuation metrics alone define success. Those who look beyond spreadsheets and PowerPoint slides and see the bigger picture, that values must drive valuation if we want to build companies that last, that matter, that heal the world instead of just exploiting it. The future belongs to those who understand that sustainability, ethics, transparency, and purpose are not liabilities. They are assets. Assets that make ventures stronger, more trusted, more adaptive. And they attract a new kind of support. Investors who are not just deep-pocketed, but deeply aligned. So how do you become part of this shift? A movement that fuses values with valuation without sacrificing either. First, stop running on the treadmill of outdated metrics. Don't let the fear of missing short-term targets steal your long-term vision. Get clear on what values must guide your work, whether it's inclusion, environmental stewardship, radical honesty, or community-centered growth. Then, embed those values not as shiny statements on websites, but as the backbone of every decision, every hire, every product choice. When investors see values in action, not just words, fundraising transforms from a battle into a partnership. Because those investors will come, not just for the growth numbers, but for the story, the integrity, the promise that they are part of something bigger. Next, start building connections, not just in your industry, but in networks that champion authenticity and impact. The system today thrives on noise, on endless pitches and shortcuts, but the future is about depth, deep relationships that challenge and support you, that sharpen your vision and fuel your courage. This means finding courage to be yourself fully, to be transparent about struggles and failures, to invite critique as fuel for growth. This is hard. It demands vulnerability and patience, but it's where true power is forged. And investors, don't just write checks. Become partners in the fullest sense. Demand founders' values up front. Support them as they navigate complexity. Celebrate their wins beyond market share. Create new success metrics that capture impact, resilience, community trust. Pioneer funds that measure returns not just in revenue, but in real-world change. This is not charity. It's smart, forward-thinking investing that anticipates tomorrow's markets and customers. Because consumers, employees, and society are all waking up. They want brands and companies that stand for something, and that creates unparalleled competitive advantage. This isn't a pipe dream. Look at the examples already rising. Social enterprises that beat the odds, startups fostering inclusive work cultures that spark creativity, funds that prioritize ethical innovation and reap exponential returns. They prove it's possible to marry purpose with profit and reimagine what growth truly means. But scaling this transformation demands all of us, founders and investors together, to refuse the old scripts and write new ones. Reality is always more malleable than it seems. The rules that chain us today, rules built on quick returns and borrowed definitions of success, were made by people, and they can be rewritten by people who dare to want more freedom, more impact, more meaning. It's not easy. It demands courage, discipline, and relentless critical thinking. But the prize, a world where ventures don't just survive, but thrive, because they are rooted in values that uplift humanity, economies that serve people, not just profit margins, and investments guided by conviction as much as calculation. So, for every founder tired of compromising, every investor searching for meaning beyond the numbers, every leader who feels out of place in this noisy, fractured ecosystem, this is a call to arms. It's not about abandoning pragmatism. It's about redefining it. It's about anchoring every choice with genuine values that build trust, inspire loyalty, and unleash creativity. This is the future. The future where values shape valuation, where success and significance walk hand in hand, where the venture capital ecosystem no longer just fuels companies, but ignites movements. Because the rare, the radical, the true creators of change are not missing. They're waiting to be found, connected, and unleashed. This is the moment to push past comfort, past assumptions, past the old illusions of what venture capital looks like. To see beyond borders, between industries, perspectives, and priorities, to build autonomous tribes of brilliance that nurture, elevate, and multiply impact. Imagine a system where your greatest asset is not just your numbers on a balance sheet, but the fire in your heart and the values you refuse to bend. Imagine a future where success means being remembered for what you stood for, not just what you cashed in. It's closer than you think, because it's already being built by those bold enough to believe that values will always outlast valuation. The question isn't whether the future of VC will prioritize values over valuation. It already is. The question is, will you step into this future? Will you stop playing by rules that limit you and start shaping the new game? Because this is for the few who burn too brightly to be ignored. This is for those who know that real freedom isn't just about money in the bank, but the strength to create a legacy worth more than any figure. This is the shift that turns pain into purpose and struggle into unstoppable momentum. The future of VC is not about what you own. It's about who you become. And that is a revolution no spreadsheet can capture. So pick your side. Choose impact. Choose fire. Choose freedom. Choose to become the founders and investors who will remake the world. Not by chasing valuation, but by living and investing in values that make any valuation a step on the way to something far greater.